and we set the strut. Sorry, we set the Carlton 101. Some bullshit. All right, I'm gonna get to work. Okay, we're back out here today. Got coffee, got some rest, and yeah, so what I was doing earlier was I was taking a look at the stroke of the shock, basically where it's at, you know, droop wise, and then fully compressed, and then changing that if I need to. So when I was doing it, I was able to raise the wheel all the way up, about as close to the quarter panel here, and we would hit the bump stop. On this side, it was about the same. It hit the bump stop. So, kind of tells me that that's going to be exactly the same, the position that it's in, and I think that we are pretty good. And then I kind of took some measurements and looked at where like these axles can sit based off of where it was fully compressed and where it's at with droop and what the axle angles will look like. And I kind of have an idea based off of a few measurements of now where I think the height of the diff can be. I sent some pictures to our buddy Joe because he's done a lot of this. He's super smart. I think I already said that. But in the meantime, I'll wait for him to respond and see what he says. If he gives me more information, I'll work on a few small things so I can continue to make progress and get stuff done. So I'm going to cap off these ends. I know we have enough clearance here, so I'm going to make caps for those. And then my plan for mounting the front is using these plates here to actually mount a piece here and drill 2 holes. So gonna template these, work on getting these in place and capping these while I wait for him to get back to me, and then I will work again on positioning the diff and hopefully getting this thing mounted in. I want to get it mounted in so bad. The other problem I ran into, the more I thought about it, I was like, oh yeah, stock sway bar, no big deal, whatever. Yeah, that's not gonna work. I got a big diff right here and the bar can't really go through it. So we're gonna have to do more stuff, and basically I'm gonna have to come up with a setup to mount the sway bar off of this subframe that is a single bar with a blade end style. And yeah, so I gotta get some more information on that because I haven't done a lot of that either. This is a huge learning experience doing all this. Slightly stressful because it's kind of a key component to what we do with drifting. But this is how we learn. And now I'm gonna be a freaking pro. And whenever I gotta put in a winner's quick change into a car, I'm gonna be able to set it up like crazy. So that's the best part. So take some time. Not gonna get it done as fast as I thought I was. Like, oh yeah, throw it in there, make some mounts, blah, blah, blah. Pinion angle's gonna be great. You know, everything's gonna be figured out. Whatever, that's how these things roll. But it's about getting the knowledge as you do it, and being able to understand why you're doing it is a super important part of everything. You don't want to just do it and then be like, I don't know why that works, but it works. It's nice to know and understand the science and, you know, kind of the engineering behind it, so that way if something does happen or you need to change something, you can understand how to change it. Okay, so I made the end plates here, got them tacked in, nice and flush around everything. Same with here. So I'm not gonna weld these in, just got them tacked in place for now. And when this gets pulled out, I will TIG weld all of these. Everything's just gonna get tacked by the MIG, and then I will do a nice finished TIG weld So, okay, those plates are done. The next one we are going to work on is this plate here. Is going to be used to mount the front. I gotta decide exactly how I want to do it. Probably like follow this angle, come down a bit. I'm gonna create a triangle that sits up in here on both sides, and yeah, get those in. Probably drill the holes for those. I think I can use this hole. It's close to the control arm, so we probably won't be able to use these existing holes. That's too close to the edge for the diameter of hole or bolt, I want to use. So I'll probably create the plate that comes all the way down and maybe across. Might have to grind down right here on this weld. All right, we'll move on to that. All right, so Joe stopped by. We set the shock stroke. So he was able to show me on one side how to do it. So then I went through and did it on the other side. And then, yeah. So now we should be all set up, ready to go. And yeah. Then I finished up these plates here. I was able to drill those and bolt them in there. Really strong 3/16 plate. So now I'll be able to build a 1-inch hoop underneath. So the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put this diff back in, or no, I gotta pull the axles, and then I will set the diff back in, and we'll start looking at getting mounted. Okay, so I had it up in place there, and I sent a bunch of pictures to Joe, and he's like, oh yeah, it looks good. So we decided that the only one little thing I'm gonna do is I am gonna notch a little bit here and plate it and just give myself a little bit more clearance on the back of the diff, and that'll allow it just to go up a little bit more to make sure that the level here isn't too low, so I'm not smacking it all the time. So just one little notch. It's so hard to mark this tube. You can't get any straight lines, so we'll see how it turns out. Now I'll get some plates in there, boom, or one big plate with maybe a bend in it. Just kind of make it flat and be able to lift the diff up a little bit more. I don't want to go too much more, but that should be enough to give us in the right spot. He said everything else looks good, so once we get it back in place, after I notch that, make sure the notch is good, then we will make our mounting points and go from there. So glad we finally figured it out. Hopefully it all works. All right, so I got everything in the position, and I took a template of the bolt pattern on the paper, and then I transferred it over to some aluminum just to check and make sure that through holes work. They're real close. I think they're doable. So I'm gonna go ahead and design this whole plate on this aluminum piece, and then I'll transfer that over to the steel. So I got my plates made for the side of the diff here, which I think they turned out pretty good. Pretty simple, gonna be super strong. Not bad for hand cut brackets, I thought. Now that I have these, they're going to fit right in between here, and I just have to take off a little bit more material on each side, and then it should just slide right in, hopefully, and be able to be tacked in. Alright, so I've taken about 800 measurements after I got it in there and in place. Yeah, so I think it's where I want it. There's no interference with the toe links here. maybe a tiny bit. Nothing we can't take care of. And then on this side, it seems pretty good too. This camera's about to die. A little more clearance. I don't know why that is. There's a little bit of height difference. It's real hard to measure this subframe. But, yep, I think it looks pretty good. I think it's where we want to tack it in. I've tried to measure absolutely everything I can to get it square. I've taken just about every measurement I can. It looks good on the toe links there. And I flipped this one over so there's a bit more clearance there. I have the bushings flipped. I measured center from here to here, hoping that that is correct. It's kind of hard to get a plane on the axles here and here perfectly to the bearing there, but I think it's close enough. And then, yeah, there he is.
Hey! You guys just missed me. I was out here helping him the whole time with this entire thing.
Yeah. So anyways, it's about ready to get tacked in. About time. Don't touch it.
I came for the inspection to make sure it's okay to be tacked in.
Don't move anything. Okay, I got those all in there. I actually went ahead and welded them in the car. So I got it in there where it ain't going nowhere. I need to round these out just a little bit more. Make it a little bit easier to put the diff back in. I was trying to put it back in earlier and it goes in, but it's just a little too tight. So I'm gonna round those out. Tomorrow I'll round those out, plate the rest here, make that all nice, finish this up, this whole section. It's super sturdy, super strong, so finish that whole section up. I'll go ahead and plate this right here, get that out of the way, and then I will move on to my front mount for the diff. And hoop to connect these again, and then that should be it. I have to decide if I'm going to build a plate that goes across here and holds it here. I don't know if I necessarily need it. I think with the back two bolts and the front bar, it'll be just fine. But we put a lot of torque onto these, so I would rather over-engineer it than under-engineer it. Okay, back out here. I got the diff in. I did widen the holes on the bottom, like I was talking about last night, a little bit more. So it bolted right back in, no problems, and now I am focusing on a front mount. So I made these plates earlier on, and now I'm trying to decide what I want to do. I'm trying to figure out if I want to grab the top and the bottom bolts.
Dinner's ready!
Or if I just want to grab the top bolts with a bar that comes across. I think that more is better, but we'll see. I might also do the top. So, but what I was thinking is I could come across here with a plate that goes across these 2 points here, and then a plate that comes down. And I think that would be like perfect for setting this in. And then if I want to, I can build a bar, a hoop that comes down here and matches the level of this, and then build tabs off of there. And then that would pull out, dismount, and then pull these 3 bolts, and it would be able to come out. That might be too much, might be more than what we need to do, but we'll see. I know we're talking about doing a plate from the bar in the back that I'm going to put in across to the top. But basically I want to prevent it from twisting as much as I can. So we shall see. Okay, so I got the front main hoop, or the front mount and the bar for it all in and welded to the plates. Looks good. Yes, I pulled the TIG welder all the way out to do this. So once it cools down a little bit, I'm going to toss it in there and see if it fits back into place. And then the next thing on this, we'll be building a bracket that comes from here and mounts to the front of the diff. So this will be a nice piece underneath that we can essentially put the diff up in. We'll be able to get it into these two bolts here and then slap her in, mount it in the front, and then I'll pull this subframe, put it in the jig, and I'll decide if I want to do another plate up above and mount to the front again, or if I'm going to do the hoop here and mount to the top. So we're almost there. It's taking so long because I don't have much time after work. I mean, I get home around like 5 o'clock, and then that 4 hours before I gotta go to bed again before work just goes super fast. And this is pretty tedious. I mean, you don't want to do it wrong. It's not something you just slap in and, oh, call it good enough. So it's taking a bit longer than I actually thought it would take. The good thing now is I do have everything in place, so I can take my axle lengths and get that all sent off and ready to go. Which tomorrow I probably will have Tori help me measure for everything, and then that way I can get those sent over and get them made and get them in time for Spec D. So yeah, we're almost there. Quite a long process. I still have a bunch of stuff to plate. I got some more clearance to do. I gotta clearance that a little bit more, which is fine. I'm just gonna put a little more angle in the tube so that when I lay the flat plate in there, it's nice and clear. And yeah, but I'll be able to do all that tedious stuff on the jig, which is good. It'll make it so much easier because then I can actually just hold it there, not doing it in the car, and up on the bench, TIG weld, make everything nice, go back and fix some of the welds on the first mounts. Not fix, like they hold. I put the diff in and I left it hanging there off of the mount, but I want to make them look nice. Like, this is, it's a pride thing. So the other thing we gotta do, make sure we do before we remove it, is we need to build our structure from over here. That way when we release everything, it doesn't want to bend back, I guess would be the correct term, which I don't think it will. But obviously when I pull this up frame, I'm not gonna have the diff in it. So yeah, we gotta get that in, get this plate in, and then we're good to take it off. Okay, it's all back in, mounted, fit back in, looks good. Yeah, it's not perfectly center, bothers me a little bit, but it's all right. We'll get the plate on there and it'll all look good. So yeah, everything went back in. I'll probably have to drill out these holes just a little bit more to make it a little bit easier. I'm considering, once I do that and I get it on the jig, like I keep saying, make it easier. Considering on welding nuts on the back of these. It'd be kind of nice because then it's just buzz, 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 buzz right off. And we won't have to worry about it. But we're going to want to torque these too. So I think it'll be okay if I weld it on. If I weld it, shouldn't be a problem with torquing it. So just trying to think, ease-wise. But really, we're never going to... we're not going to pull one of these 5-minute comp timeout, because if we are screwed. So I think it'll be all right. Yeah, but everything looks good. I think pinion angle is going to be a lot better than it looks from looking underneath the car. It kind of looks right now, I don't know if you can see it, like there's going to be a lot of pinion angle, but then if we go right here, it looks much better. That's right at the yoke. So it might just be one of those things when you're looking at it, eyeballing it, you're like, oh my God, it looks like it has 8 degrees or whatever some stupid amount. And this is the real hard part about this. These aren't plug and play, so I don't have a drive shaft. I can't throw a drive shaft in and then put the rear end in and then put the axles in and be like, oh, this is exactly where it needs to go. Now let's build our mounts to it. No, it's like, man, if I had insane technology, I could scan things and measure things. But I think that with the U-joints in the drive shaft and the CVs and the axles, it's going to make up for some of this. So it shouldn't be too big of a deal. But yeah. So far, so good. See you tomorrow.
3, 2, 1.